Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Slaanesh and the Beastmen. It's going to be myself with the Exalted Keeper of Secrets facing off against Subutai, who's going to be coming in with the Bray Herd, led by Malagor, the Dark Omen. Now, as far as my build goes, we got a lot of armor and a lot of whips. Now, the Chosen of Slaanesh, I think, are pretty good, one of the best units on the roster, and they also happen to be one of the coolest looking units on the roster. So pretty cool that you get to do both. Now, these guys, of course, do rock 72 melee defense, which is absolutely insane, making them tough to drag down for even things that do counter them, like Razor Gores and Minotaurs. Their melee attack will struggle to get through the 72 melee defense. Granted, it's still cost effective for those units, but it makes the Chosen of Slaanesh pretty damn tanky. I think the only infantry unit that has higher melee defense than these guys is going to be the ROR Dwarf Ironbreakers, Norgmling's Ironbreakers. But yeah, aside from that, I don't think anything else has higher melee defense. And they have poison and physical resist, immunopsychology. Really tough to bring down. So we got 3 of those backed up by the Exalted Keeper of Secrets, which is pretty good against Beastmen in my opinion. It's a bit of a glass cannon, so you have to be really careful. If this thing gets surrounded and focus fired by Ungor Raiders, it's going to die super quickly. But if you can use its speed and avoid those threats, it's an anti-large monster with terror, it has healing, it's got a great lore of magic, and can be very disruptive. We do also have a couple horsemen, because horsemen are good against Beastmen Minotaurs and spawn and various other threats. And that is it for our starting army. First thing we're going to be calling out is some devoted Marauder Spears to jump on the back objective here. Now, looking at the old Bray Herd here on the other side for Subutai, pretty cool build. He's going to be rocking Ungors into the sunset, so front line of chaff units backed up by Minotaurs, which is going to be a combination of basic anti-infantry Minotaurs and Butchers of Kalkengard, and the back is going to be mass Ungor Raiders. And honestly, it's a very well-rounded build, right? The Spears in the front are going to be able to handle any sort of big threats that I have. Minotaurs counter my armor, and Ungors will counter, any big mobile, whatever, demons, fiends, seekers, Exalted Keeper, whatever. So it's a very nice build here by Subutai. He does also have Malagor the Dark Omen. So Malagor's got some cool tricks. He's got Flock of Doom, and he does also have, I believe, the Withering, which is something that can synergize with the Ungor Raiders. You lower the army? No, it's going to be Enfeebling Foe. So that could work. The Withering does lower armor by 30, so you could use that with Ungor Raiders to lower things down to 70, 60 armor, depending on what you're going after. But it looks like it's going to be Enfeebling Foe, which is something that you use more for isolated engagements. So for example, if you have Centaurs going against Hellstriders, you pop this on the Hellstriders and suddenly the Centaurs dominate the fight. On top of that, he does have something wicked comes this way, which is -4 leadership, and yeah, pretty much the jam. Beast Steel Charge isn't bad. It does give your entire army vigor and charge bonus, so brings some cool utility to the table. Not quite as good as Lore of Slaanesh, which gives your entire army melee attack, but yeah, it's great. So battle's on, and the elite Slaaneshi force is going to be advancing into the Bray Herd here. We'll do some fast forwarding as we move up. I do get a little bit cheeky there, moving in with the Marauder Horsemen, throwing some javelins at the Minotaurs here. Minotaurs do take a little bit of damage, and our second call-in is going to be more Marauder Horsemen of Slaanesh. I saw a lot of Minotaurs, many of which were unshielded, so I figured that the javelin fire would be very disruptive against them. Now, I'm curious to see how these old Chosen, of course this game was played a couple weeks ago, so I've honestly forgotten how most of the action is gone, but we'll certainly find out here. But I'm curious to see how well the Chosen will hold up against Minotaurs, which in theory should counter them hard, but I think they're just a disgusting stat line, might give them a decent fight. Nice Enfeebling Foe there by Subutai, going to be hurting these Chosen, and they're going to be countercharging here, but the Minotaur is certainly going to be punting some of those big heavy boys into the Shadow Realm. But in a moment, they will be standing up and returning the favor. On the other side, we do have a little bit of support ourselves. So we use the Acquiescence. Acquiescence is going to be debuffing the stats of these units and triggering a melee attack buff for my entire army. So now all the Chosen are rocking 55 melee attack. And honestly, this trade here is going quite well. But Subutai looking like he wants to flank, so we see Minotaurs coming around the side, and more Chosen of Slaanesh on their way. My first call-in is going to be the anti-large Hellstriders looking to attack some of the Minotaurs and provide some support. So we'll have to see that unfold. The objective in the middle is being contested. I do have slightly more capture weight than Subutai, but not by too much. And here you can see the Chosen able to hold back the Butchers of Kalkengard with the support of the Exalted Keeper of Secrets. Using Ballet of Blows makes it pretty hard-hitting for sure. And we do also send over some of these old Hellstriders. So Hellstriders getting there, doing good damage. Whip of Slaanesh going down, but Subutai has good backfield pressure. Using the Ungors with the shields to screen out my Marauder Horsemen is a very nice play. Oftentimes, a lot of the ammunition from the Marauder Horsemen is going to be getting wasted into these when you do that. So that's an incredibly solid play. But Chosen of Slaanesh trading pretty well, I think. I don't know how much value they're getting back because they are bashing mostly chaff units, but they're anchoring it very well. Despite being debuffed by Enfeebling Foe, you can see they're surviving against the Minotaurs. Now my Horsemen going to be pushed back once again as Subutai does call in Shielded Centaurs, a very good counter against Marauder Horsemen to try and chase me down. In response, we get Hell Scourges coming out. I did see a lot of these archers causing big havoc over here, peppering in and putting pressure on my Exalted Keeper of Secrets. So the Whip boys are going to be charging in and hopefully causing big disruption here on the Ungors. And yeah, I really do think that the Whip Hell Scourges are pretty cost effective. Looks like there's going to be a Flock of Doom coming down from Subutai, which will do some topical damage to them, but overall, the Ungor Raider should get wrecked pretty bad by these dudes, and they have 28 melee attack and also 40 weapon strength, so yeah, pretty decent stuff. In the backfield here, Centaur's overextending a little bit, so we do get a good pick. Our Hellstriders of Slaanesh, or Hell Scourges, do intercept those Centaurs, and I believe they are faster and also have poison, so you can see they're able to catch them and drag down models, which is quite good. And overall, the value trading is going good. We're up 3.9 to 2.5. We're certainly ahead in this game. And as long as I don't make any blunders here with my big Exalted Keeper of Secrets, I think things are going to keep going well. So Devoted Marauders pushing things back. Hell Scourges peeling the backfield relatively well, but Subutai does kind of lure me into his Minotaur blob. So these Hellstriders do overextend a little bit, but they have the backing of the Chosen with the Hell Scourges, so hopefully that fight won't go terribly. And here our Exalted Keeper of Secrets getting worn down a little bit. Butchers of Kalkengard doing some nice damage, but Terror Route's going down, and the Centaur is able to reposition, getting very cost-effective volleys here on the old Butchers of Kalkengard. So far, very, very scrappy game. Middle objective owned by myself, but starting to flip. The Beastmen are just getting a lot of numbers here and a lot of good armor-piercing answers. Razorgore Herds, of course, very good against my Chosen, and the Chosen are running out of support here. But man, oh man, 69 models, the blessed number of Slaanesh. No way we could lose the game now with that number on those Chosen. Currently up to about 1,000 value, despite fighting Minotaurs and things that are relative counters. And here the Hellscourge Chosen and Spears pushing back more and more of the Minotaurs. So things are going pretty well, using the Horsemen to fend off the back pressure. Looked like the Beastmen were going to try and play my back objective a little bit. So, had to make sure that didn't happen. Here, the big Exalted Keeper of Secrets, so far the value is up to 1,400, which is good, but the Raider peppering fire is really, really nasty, and Subutai has a nice angle. Of course, it's only 16 Missile Strength, but there are 120 models. That really adds up. And you see what I'm saying about the Keeper of Secrets and how quickly it can die if it gets focus fired here? I did just notice it was getting focus fired badly, and I was like, oh boy, I need to get out of here. This is bad. I mean, this could straight up be a game-losing play if I'm not able to kind of salvage his character. So Whip of Slaanesh going down, and that Exalted Keeper of Secrets just folds like an absolute piece of paper here. So the Keeper is going to be trying to get away, but sadly Minotaurs are focus firing. Ungor the Dark Omen, Ungabunga the Dark Omen, Malagor able to get a bit of an intercept here, and now the Exalted Keeper of Secrets is going to be fleeing the scene, and I am suddenly in danger. The momentum of the game does shift a little bit. Leadership penalty in my army will hurt, so I really just made a huge blunder. And you got to be very careful with these big demons. And that's kind of how Slaanesh is in general. I think it's a very rewarding playstyle, but it also can be punishing if you make misplays like this with your big centerpieces. So the demon does fall, and Malagor the Dark Omen getting in there for the celebratory kill. And now the value is going to be favoring the Beastmen. I start to pressure the back objective, sending some Devoted Marauders, because I felt as if I was ahead when I did summon these guys, and then suddenly I lose 3,000 value of demons, my big demon, in the course of a minute or two, and it really does kind of shift things, but... Man, oh man, I love Hellscourge Chosen. So cool. These guys up to 265 kills, 1,500 value, so they paid for themselves. I believe they cost about 1,400 or 1,500, something like that, so they will be paying for themselves. The other Chosen, I think we're finally broken, diving a little bit too deeply into the opponent's backfield here. And the Marauder Horsemen, not terrible in combat for Slaanesh, not the best, but they get in and try and, get a little bit of a momentum shift here, supporting the Chosen with some mass. And the Chosen, dude, what's with the blessed number? 69 models on these guys. Man, they are just really, really devoted to the old Prince of Darkness here. Now, on the top objective, Objective 1, are Devoted Marauders trading well? They're not Devoted Marauders of old. You guys remember the days when Slaanesh used to just dominate everything? And their Devoted Marauders, of course, had the bonus for infantry. That was really, really OP. Slaanesh, of course, right now is considered to be one of the lower tier factions, but I honestly think they sit at, on Total Tavern, I believe a 30% win rate. Them and Khorne have the two worst win rates. Khorne is the worst and Slaanesh is the second worst. But I really do feel like Slaanesh has a lot of potential. I think if some top players picked them up and started theory crafting, I feel like there's some tricks that people could learn for sure. So middle objective starting to flip back for us. We get the Chosen of Slaanesh grinding through the Razorgore Herds, and Razorgores only have 24 melee attack against 75 melee defense, which is insane on these guys right now. So yeah, they can take things that are normally counters, and the Hellscourge Chaos Warriors can kind of do the same things, not to the same extent. But overall, I do think that the Whip Hellscourges are just such a good unit. Their trading potential is crazy. Nice Flock of Doom by Subutai, though. Beauty right there. Currently, Malagor is going to be sitting at about 1,100 value. Hits 3 infantry units, including a Chosen. And Devoted Marauders there. Raiders peppering up on the high ground. And we still honestly have a very close game. It's 86 to 86. Razor close here. We do get some Chaos Knights coming in, which are just straight up one of the coolest units of the game. So Chaos Knights of Slaanesh get in. Razorgores are a pretty good trade into them, unfortunately. But I figured I could bunker bust these guys with the Chaos Knights. But at the end of the day, taking that trade was a mistake with those Chaos Knights. Yeah, they do okay, but with Minotaurs nearby and supporting infantry, I end up having to pull back. I should have just used some Hell Scourges or something. That was a big blunder sending those Chaos Knights in. Now, towards Objective 1, we get more Devoted Marauders coming in, but Subutai does have some great weapon boys. Middle objective does belong to the Dark Prince, the Hell Scourges, and various Marauders, and now Forsaken arriving. Give me some nice capture weight and shock damage. Unfortunately, Malagor does break their charge, so that's a nice usage of a single entity right there. Granted, he does take a little bit of damage in the process. Hell Scourge is coming across, intercepting the Butchers of Kalkengard, trying to break them once and for all and getting some respectable damage. More Minotaurs with their anti-large attacks are on the way in, and unfortunately, these Forsaken are going to be made into a sandwich as the Minotaurs with Great Weapons do get their nice rear charge on them. So things are getting a little bit dicey. Chaos Knights do come back, though, and they do pretty well. They're able to find some of these tattered Razor Gores and finally get a pretty favorable trade, and they are going to be getting some support from the anti-large Hellstriders, which in my mind right now is kind of thinking, okay, let's go for a triple cap. Value's close. I'm kind of falling behind a little bit, but let's make a play for the back objective using the anti-large Hellstriders and the Chaos Knights to maybe 2v1 these Minotaurs. Maybe it would be a valuable trade for us. Some more Devoted Marauders on the way in. Hell Scourges on the top side, able to clear out the Ungor Raiders, which I wish could have happened a little bit earlier. I've been magicless for quite some time, and my big Slaaneshi demon cost a hell of a lot to summon. I believe the demon was like 2,900 or 3,000, so losing that was a pretty colossal blunder for sure. And the middle objective is starting to flip. My infantry are running out of steam, waves and waves of Beastmen. The Beastmen do also have magic, and here we go for the surround on the Minotaur. So the Chaos Knights take the charge head on, but the anti-large Hellstrider is going to be flanking into the back. Nice enfeebling foe there on the Chaos Knights will be lowering their stats pretty heavily. But overall, I think if Malagor didn't interfere, we could probably win this fight 2v1. A little bit dicey. Middle objective scrapping hard. The Beastmen army, of course, quite haggard, but my Slaanesh army running out of steam. Finally, the Chosen are pretty much dissipating. I don't think I have any Chosen left. Here, the nice flank coming in from the Hellstriders with the Hell Scourges. Getting on top of the Ungor Raiders is good, and these other Ungor Raiders could be compromised in a nice little 2v1, and I really, really need to win this fight up here. But these are not the Hellstriders of old. They're still good, but more of a niche unit now, not ubiquitously OP like they once were, but the migrating cows and pigs are going to be overwhelming. So the full barnyard is in effect here. Currently 10,000 value, and I am down by, about 1,000 here, more or less 700 or 800, so that's tough. And we are starting to fall behind a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Back objective is still held by the forces of Slaanesh, and now the Beastmen are going to be going for the back cap. Now, is it game over yet? I am ahead on points, and Slaanesh is a pretty good faction at using their speed and mobility to isolate things. So here you can see we're going to go for an isolation on these Minotaurs with Grey Opens. Hopefully get a favorable trade here, trying to get the Hellstriders around the backside for a devastating flank. But the pigs and cows are heading over here. The Princes of Perfection coming out. So these are the Arawar Spears. So my only hope here and what was going on in my head is I'm like, all right, if Subutai gets a little bit too crunk pushing my back objective, maybe I could get a little bit of attrition, push back his units, and get that momentum shift. So we'll have to see how that goes. This trade here goes surprisingly well. The Hell Scourges and the Chaos Knights holding, and I do get some Marauder Horsemen in there to help out a little bit. Unfortunately, I blundered and got too close, and they do get into melee combat, but not the end of the world. And the Princes of Perfection are a pretty strong unit. They do also have the Soporific Musk, so they lower the stats of what they're fighting. 41 melee defense, anti-large bonus, should be pretty good against Minotaurs as well as Razor Gore, so we'll see if they are able to kind of get me back in the game here. Winning this fight's going to be pretty big as well. We really need to, and you can see the Centaurs do get broken, and the Minotaurs with great weapons also get broken, so it kind of looks like it was GG there a minute ago, but I felt like I had a little bit of fight left, so I didn't leave the game. And we're going to keep trying to do whatever we can. So the back objective is going to be flipping back to my own forces. A couple Marauder Horsemen do come out here, and the Beastmen keep pushing into my back objective. But the Princes of Perfection did a great job pushing back a lot of the mass. And the Centaurs throwing some good javelin fire here into the Great Weapon. So we'll see what can be done, ladies and gentlemen. Value is 12.6 to 12.8. Subutai does pull a little bit of a value lead here as my Marauder Horsemen going to be surging through, trying to kite these Minotaurs around the map, seeing if I can get a little bit of value, maybe get some pushing momentum. More Marauders on their way, and Marauder Spears coming out of the middle, and we're just kind of taking them on a big rodeo circus here as more Marauders are on their way. Malagor the Dark Omen taking some javelins to the faces. And we are falling pretty far behind on points, though, ladies and gentlemen. 12.3 to 900. Back objective is ours, Forsaken on their way in. And we actually start to flip the middle objective. So I was like, wait a second. Am I going to get a double cap here? Spears and Devoted Marauders and Forsaken doing pretty cost-effective fights here. Razor Gore Herds being intercepted by anti-large. But at the end of the day, I just simply don't think we're going to have enough time, and we do tap out. So GG, well played. It was a great game. A very, very close game in the beginning. I do think we had a nice 2,000 value lead. If I had had proper micro on my Lord and had been less sloppy and not letting it get caught by the archers, I think we could have had good chances of winning that game. But Subutai did a great job. He recognized an opportunity. He got in there. He got the snipe and got the job done. I love the Hellscourge Marauders. Although at the end of the day, I do think that maybe going with the Warriors would be more cost effective. And I have a bit of a different idea about this build now, this matchup, and I'll show you guys right now. But GG well played to Subutai. That was a great match. I loved his build. Really cool seeing Malagor in action. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. So now let's go break down a build I would maybe change. So let's go here. Go to multiplayer battles, and let's do this. I was just playing some practice games with old Hadries right there. So let's go ahead and see. So we are going to Slaanesh. So Slaanesh versus Beastmen. I like the big lord. I think it's a bit of a liability. Honestly, I think I would just go with Herald of Slaanesh. The Herald of Slaanesh is quite good. You get it on this beast. Soul Siphon is a Mortis engine with low leadership, which isn't bad against Beastmen. Locus of Grace isn't bad either. Honestly, I would keep all those abilities and probably would stick with the lore of Slaanesh and go with Lash, Acquiescence, and Hysterical Frenzy. Hysterical Frenzy is pretty good to pop on like Chaos Knights when they're fighting a hard fight. It really gives them a lot of value. So this thing's cheaper, it's a smaller target, and will allow you to go wider. So from here, I think we go Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges. Like maybe like 4 or 5 of those go pretty heavy duty. And then we want Marauder Horsemen and I think a couple Spears. This opening build feels pretty good. We could honestly probably just cut Locus of Grace to get that. So in this case, you move up. The archers aren't going to do much. Minotaurs are a bit of a problem, but you will have the double javelin to kind of put pressure on them in the beginning. On top of that, I think we throw in a Soul Grinder of Slaanesh in reserves. The Soul Grinder of Slaanesh feels pretty good. And then just Hellstriders, Hellscourge Marauders will trade very well in the Beastman Chaff. A couple Spears just to saturate into the Minotaurs. And then we want the anti-large Hellstriders. I think they're quite good. I did like the Chaos Knight tech. I felt like they were impactful if I had been a little bit cleaner with them. What else do we want to bring? I feel like the Cultists might not be bad. They'll trade okay into Minotaurs. They hit pretty hard. They do have a bonus versus infantry, so if we strip them down and you bring just the Gates of Slaanesh, the Gate of Slaanesh is triggered with them being engaged in melee. So now we need to find a way to save some money. So we could like cut like this. I don't know though. Yeah, the Demonette summons aren't terribly impactful. So maybe we go 4 of those and then we get another Horseman out of the Gates to help against the Minotaur pressure. And is there anything else we can kind of afford? This character is on its steed. Portoglyph is really good. You just get free Furies and you can just send them after... yeah, the Mortis engine's probably not that essential because you don't want this thing close. It's just going to be running around. So from here, we can throw in another Hellscourge. This should be one of the big boys right there. Perfect. And then we could just get 1 cheap Marauder to hold our back objective. So this is kind of the initial opening here. We can summon in a Soul Grinder to fight Minotaurs with infantry support. It does, of course, have Terror also, which I think is going to be good. Furies of Slaanesh don't feel really good in this matchup. You're paying for armor piercing, and there's not much for them to go after in that regard. Chaos Knights will sweep the backfield. I think we need some of these, and honestly, this build feels pretty good. I think this would be a solid build against Beastmen. It'd be safer, a little bit wider, and yeah, I would say give it a try. GG well played to Subutai. Great game. Trying to learn Slaanesh right now. It's been a lot of fun. A hard faction to play. Some matchups that feel really difficult for them to win, but overall rewarding and a very cool faction flavor-wise. GG well played. See you guys next time. That's it for tonight, and yeah, that's it. Cheers.